no one tells you as an Olympian how hard it's going to be if you're still in the sport and you don't make the next games.
This was recorded at the Media Joint.
That is so rogue.
Boy, that's a bit rogue.
Is it even that rogue?
Welcome back to another episode of A Bit Rogue. I am your host, Skye Sydenham, and I am joined again by Emma Jeffcoat, Olympic triathlete. Emma, how are you this morning?
I'm great, thank you. Thanks for having me back.
Yes, it's so cool to have you back, but the reason why you're here, it's Olympic week. We're well and truly into it, and I'm sure if listeners have now realised you're here and not in Paris because you unfortunately you didn't qualify this year. She's still a baddie though, so that's fine. So we're now going to just talk about all things Olympic and life right now.
Perfect.
So the first thing I wanted to kind of touch on is obviously the ceremony was like the other day. Yeah. And there's a lot of backlash at the moment. I think what I saw on my, like who I follow, people are saying that it's inappropriate and it's like bashing religion and just taking the piss. My thoughts on it is like, my country is my country and how they want to do the opening is how we would do it. But if how another country wants to do it and how they express their creativity, then that's on them. But I just wanted to know your thoughts.
Yeah, I think the opening ceremony is like a spectacle.
Yeah.
And it's not, it's a parade of the athletes that are about to be on show, but it's, I guess, a chance for a country to put itself and its talent on show, not just sporting, but artistic, singers, dancers, art, expression. So I think, yeah, as you said, every country's going to have a different way of expressing that. Might not necessarily be to my taste, but I think on a whole, the Paris opening ceremony, it's the first time it's ever been on a river and not in a closed stadium. So I think they did an awesome job in pulling that off down the Seine. I know the athletes I've spoken to thought that was unreal to be able to move past hundreds and thousands of people in Paris, and then past landmarks like the Eiffel Tower, and then to finish up in the stadium was awesome. So I think they did a good job.
It's very cool. It is a cool setup this year though. Like I think this is the furthest, so with surfing it's the furthest away athletes have ever been to the main event.
Insane.
Which is crazy, but still kind of cool. Bit sad that they get to miss out on the Olympic Village, but
yeah, the Village is a perk.
That is a perk, yeah. But I feel like for the surfers, like, I don't know. I feel like they have their own little clique anyway.
I mean, they're in Tahiti.
Yeah.
I don't feel too bad.
Yeah.
And they've got real beds.
Oh, do they?
Yeah.
How did you find out about that?
Because I saw like videos of their hotel they're staying in and it looks lush. But then also like the rowers and the kayakers aren't at the main village and they're in like this palace.
Oh.
Really nice, like accommodation. And then the village, which has its perks, but then yeah, you're on the cardboard bed.
Yeah, I know there's been so much about the cardboard beds. It was funny because we were like kind of talking about it last time, saying that they make it cardboard so you can't get into any nasty business. But I feel like everyone like Lab Bible and everything has been covering it, being like talking about how the athletes are like doinking and stuff because they're in like their prime and everything.
Athletes are athletes.
Yeah.
We can manage.
Yeah. I was literally...
Did you hear how many condoms had been delivered to the village?
Oh God, like hundreds and thousands.
I think it was like 300,000.
Yeah, they didn't hand any out in Tokyo. Forbidden. Apparently they're in like, you got the Olympic rings on them too.
Shut up. Shut up. If Harry Garside's listening, can he please bring back some? Not for us to use, but like, you know, just souvenir.
Handful.
I was actually thinking about him. I was just like, you know what? He's such a like, he's lightweight boxer. He wouldn't have any issues on cardboard box.
No.
I don't think any of them would. That's kind of the
Maybe if you're a basketballer, but I'm pretty sure the basketball like top dogs aren't staying in the village.
Surely
They're
not.
very well looked after.
Yeah. Interesting. What are your thoughts on the skirt?
Oh, I was having this conversation with someone the other day. Do you know what? For nostalgia vibes, it reminds me of like growing up primary school when you had the zip around skirt.
Yes.
Or like netball skirt.
Yeah.
Kind of rate it. Little girl kind of vibes. But then...
It's so long though. It's like midi length.
Too long. And also just like a bit comical. Like I was comparing it to the Tokyo uniform. I love that our opening ceremony uniform's quite professional, very slick. And you can reuse it at like formal events, corporate events. It's got a lot of I've got a lot of wear out of it. I don't know if I'd be getting a lot of wear out of that skirt. It's
The
kind
skirt,
of like a one
honestly,
piece.
I actually genuinely felt bad. Like, I saw it and I was like, wow. It's like one of those things where, yeah, you are an athlete and you have to wear something that doesn't suit you. But this one is genuinely like, there's nothing that will make that look good. It looked good on some of the older ladies that were like the officials.
Yeah.
I thought that was sweet. But I saw someone comment being like, oh, I really want to see Mary from Matildas.
And I think, it was just a bit outdated. But, I mean, that's part of, like, similar to the opening ceremony. Every Games has a different uniform. It's honestly one of my favourite parts, like, both being an athlete, getting a uniform, and then each game seeing what the uniform looks like. And I've done some work with Sportscraft, and they work so hard on their Olympic uniform. So kudos to them, because people are going to love it or some people are going to hate it.
Yeah, fair enough. Now, speaking of countries doing different things, what about Snoop Dogg holding the torch?
Oh, what about Snoop Dogg walking around the village? I'm like, sorry, what?
It's just weird times we live in.
I don't get that. When he was part of the Olympic torch relay, I'm like, sorry, where am I missing some context here? What sport does he play?
Yeah.
From like Snoop to Rafa. I'm like, come on.
That's, I don't know.
But are they trying to claim that he's like got some French heritage?
Oh, I've missed that.
No, that was the only connection that I thought that there potentially could have been.
No, I genuinely
Snoop
think that they think Snoop Dogg is an icon and America owns Snoop Dogg.
And America owns the Olympics. No. I saw him at the gymnastics watching Simone Biles. I'm just like,
oh my God. Well, speaking of America, we did actually just touch on something very briefly off air. How with the incident of Trump, you were saying that security is quite strict now for the athletes.
Really, really strict. So I know athletes that, like, for Australia to leave the village, they've been told not to wear uniform.
Oh.
And they don't want you seen in your Olympic kit because it puts you at a, like, as a target or at a risk, sorry. And from all the conversation being had around, I just think the present time we're in with everything going on in the world, be it Trump, be it what's happening with Israel and Palestine and that area of the world, I think it's just at such a heightened risk, and everyone's watching the games. Like, it has all eyes on it. It is a prime target, and you have hundreds of thousands of people in one city gathered together. So I think while it's a bit somber, it is a real risk. And I know that there's been so much emphasis put on security within the village, at stadiums, and countries sending their own, like the AFP's been sent for Aussies, FBI for America, like people are sending in their own security. That
Right, I didn't know that.
Yeah, if something was to happen, there's people on the ground that can
Do you think
help.
that athletes think about that though? Like, is it something in the back of their mind, their safety, or not really?
It's funny. It's not something that had come to my mind actually until my dad said something, and it had not come to my mind until the team had been named. I knew I wasn't going, and my dad actually said, he's like, I'm so grateful you're not going, because I've been so worried around security and the risk of something happening at these games. He's like, as a father, it just makes me quite relieved in that sense. And it had been something I'd never thought of until that moment, that I was like, oh wow. I think as an athlete, it's a dream come true, and you don't want to give any energy to that. Your energy is going into performing, and like I said, it's a dream come true moment for so many people. But I think for security and staff, it's probably taking a lot of their energy.
Yeah. So going back to the last episode we did together, we spoke about your rogue moment of the water quality.
Oh yeah.
So you mentioned just before that the water quality has failed?
Yeah, so for triathlon and marathon swimming, they are swimming in the Seine. So people haven't swum in the Seine for 100 years. It's been banned.
They're supposed to be swimming in the
Sorry,
Seine.
they're supposed to be swimming in the Seine. I put the triathlon's on Tuesday and Wednesday coming up, and I put my money on it. They will be swimming. There's been too much money invested that they won't. There's been 1.5 billion euros put to cleaning up the Seine.
Jesus.
So much money.
What would they do if they don't do the swim? Like, do they move it? Do they put them in pools?
This is the crazy part. It'll be a duathlon. It's not the same race.
Oh.
Coming from someone that loves the swim, I'm sorry. So it'd be a 10K, 5K run, 40K cycle, 10K run. So no swim. There's no contingency. They will not move it. That's the French for you.
Wow. Okay.
Wild.
That is crazy.
And like the other factor to it is like it's this juggling act because the water quality is so shocking. And there's been higher rainfalls, which is why the water quality is so bad. This E. coli levels are through the roof. And also with the rain, the current is moving like really fast. So at one point it's slowed down now, but it was moving 2 meters per second. So like faster than world record pace for 100 meters. The current was moving. So the issue was they need the current to be moving to wash the shitty water down, but they also can't have the current run that fast because athletes won't be able to make it through the course. They'd be washed away.
Oh my gosh.
You wouldn't be able to return.
You'd think after all this time knowing that you're going to be hosting the Olympics that they would have started working on it sooner, but anyway.
Take them to Tahiti. No.
Yeah. No, for real though. Like maybe do the race somewhere else. If they're going to put the surfers in Tahiti, what's wrong with putting the triathletes somewhere else?
And that's the thing. So for marathon swimming, there's a contingency. They'd move to the rowing event and race there. For triathlon, they would delay it and hope that the water quality cleared up a few days later. If it hadn't cleared up, they run it as a duathlon, which I just think is, if that was to be the case, and it's the big talking point at the minute, would be so devastating because that's not your event.
Yeah.
They're not there to race a duathlon.
Yeah, that is sad. Well, so you're officially an Olympian that didn't make the Olympics, which is not uncommon this year though.
Can I just say, when the team got announced, someone messaged me on Instagram and they're like, guess that makes you a has-been. I was like, yeah.
She's not a has-been. No, it's funny. It's not funny, but like obviously Brittany came on, who's an Olympic diver. She didn't qualify either. So I was just like, are these motherfuckers listening to a bit Rogan being like, don't pick her. No, I'm kidding. But it's not uncommon for athletes that are Olympians to not make the Olympics. It's crazy. So Brittany actually put up a TikTok explaining that, you know, she did feel quite bitter and feelings of jealousy when she was seeing people leave for the Olympics and, you know, pretty natural feelings. Did you feel any negativity at all? You're quite a positive person.
I definitely am naturally a positive person, but I'd be absolutely lying if I didn't have feelings of jealousy towards them. And I think the big thing I keep saying to friends is no one tells you as an Olympian how hard it's going to be if you're still in the sport and you don't make the next games. And so many people have been like, oh, but at least you're already Olympian. Like, at least you've already been, you know, you've been to one. And it's like, yeah, thanks, but that doesn't help me feel any better because this is still my life, my goal. Tokyo was very unique in that I didn't have any family and friends there. There was no crowd. It wasn't the full experience. And, you know, I still have so many aspirations in this sport that it's, I have come to terms with the fact I wasn't good enough to make the team this time round. Doesn't mean it's any less disappointing. And I think the big thing is like I can be in one hand disappointed, but in the same moment I can still be proud of the effort I put in to try and make the game. So in little moments I am still proud of myself and positive, but in some days are just tougher. And when it's all over the radio, TV, social media, it's all people are talking about. I was at training the other day and I was getting into my car and this woman was looking for a park and she stopped and I knew her from like a decade ago. Once I went to, she's like, what are you doing here? And I was like, oh, I've just been for a swim. She's like, no, I mean in Australia. Why aren't you in Paris? And I was like, yeah, I didn't make it. And she was like, why? And I was like, why do I owe you an explanation?
That's so awkward.
I didn't make it. I wasn't good enough. Like,
what a dero.
It's just like, it's kind of those moments that make it tough.
Yeah.
Because it's, I guess, sport. Like, one hot thing I love talking about is like how everyone feels like they can comment on your body shape and body image in sport and or money. Like, how do you earn money? Like, how much money do you make? Well, if that was normal society in a normal job, business, no one's asking you how much money you make or commenting on your body shape and size.
Yeah.
In sport they can. And it's similar. It's like, why do I owe you an explanation?
Yeah. So do you feel like you'll go for 2028?
At this point in time, yeah.
You will?
I know, which is, again, daunting. But I think for me, I've moved back home to where I own an apartment. It's where my family and friends are. I'm very settled with my coach and my training group and staff I have around me. So for me, I feel like that takes the pressure off because I'm really happy and where I want to be. So I don't have regrets, I guess, investing another 4 years, because if I end up retiring earlier than LA 2028, or I go to LA 2028, or I pursue it and don't make the team, I still love what I'm doing in the sport. I get to travel the world. I still really love it, and it is still a viable job for me. And I also know like it won't last forever, so it's
exactly.
I've got 4 more years realistically, so why not make the most of it?
Do you get any feedback as to why you didn't make the Olympics?
Yeah, you definitely do. It was really clear cut for me. Like, I didn't race all of last year. I was injured, didn't race the key benchmark events that the policy says that they were picking off. So I honestly probably just didn't get.
That's so disappointing,
chance.
Because obviously, I don't know if you know Emma from gymnastics. She obviously was retired. She come back for 9 months and she made the Olympics. So it's not like, it's not possible. So it's disappointing, but you can understand why. Yeah.
Different sports. It is, I was only talking to a friend the other day. It is tough when teams are picked through discretion, which I think we touched on last episode, where it's not automatic. So it's not as clear cut, because if people are automatically qualified and they were like a cut above the rest, you're happy for them. And you're like, I understand they deserve to go. When it's discretion and they're picking like the best of an average bunch, it's a bit tougher to like kind of stomach the decision. But at the end of the day, like the teams being sent, they deserve to go, and I'm really excited to watch them race, and I hope they just really can soak up and enjoy the experience, because it's a lot.
It is. So now that you're obviously not going to the games, but you've still got.
You don't have to say obviously not going to the games.
What the fuck else do you want me to say, Josh?
I'm sitting right here.
Yeah.
Say the bloody sentence for me then.
So you're not in Paris?
No.
Euro summer ended early.
That's fine. You can stay here with me, doll. So you're not in Paris, and you're not going to go again potentially until another 4 years. Is there anything that, you want to talk about or, share that you felt like you couldn't before because you were under a microscope for qualifying? Like, is there anything to do with, like, body image or anything like that? Or did you still... Because we did touch on how you weren't the norm. Like, you still have balance. You still were studying. Is there anything that, you can now talk about that you're like, I needed to share this? Or...
No, there's really no juicy gossip. I'm a pretty open book. I think I've already been quite outspoken over the years on topics that I'm passionate about. The body image and I guess body shape one's a really strong one, and I will continue to be so. And I think the sport will continue to grow in that space too. But
I feel like all sports though, 100%. It's not just like
No.
It's all sports.
It is all sports. And I do feel like when athletes leave the sport though, they definitely kind of leave that, I guess, bubble, and then almost realize like, wow, some aspects were so toxic that I didn't realize, or I didn't see at the time because I was just so invested and so focused on that goal. And I think that's probably where the balance that I have in life helps me during the experience as an athlete, because I am learning as I go and kind of seeing it and being more and more comfortable to call it out and try and shift the needle in a positive sense. And I think that too gives you like a bigger purpose and a bigger, I guess, role within the sport, or like you start to leave a legacy while you're still in the sport, and that's bigger than just going on Olympics. Yeah. So I think that's something that I'm quite passionate about, and whilst I'm not going to the games, you still see like value in being part of like the Aussie team.
Yeah. Something I do enjoy about the Olympics, it's a good reminder as well, and going back to body, is I have a pair of like a one piece from Dolphin, right? And the other day I was like, God, it's really like cutting into me. Like maybe I put weight on. And I'm not usually someone that I don't have scales at home. Yeah. I don't weigh myself. Like I'm just like, whatever, I'm cruising. And I was like, yeah, it's really cutting into me. And then I saw the Olympic individuals and the girls, like it really cuts into them. And I'm like, I love, like they're literally Olympians and they look like me. Yeah. And like, you know, Olympians, they do have cellulite. So it's really cool to see like you can be the fittest you are possibly could ever be, and you're still, at the end of the day, you're a human. And I think it's a really good reminder for girls especially that are on social media and everything, that they can see that our best of the best athletes are human.
Absolutely. I remember before Tokyo, I stopped weighing myself because like I was not weighing myself. I was getting weighed as part of just like checking how training was going. We were doing like a lot of heat chamber work, so you want to monitor like how much sweat loss and et cetera, et cetera. Anyway, I started doing blind weights in the gym and for sauna because I was like, I don't want to see it. It's like getting into my head. Anyway, afterwards, I actually looked at the data and I raced like 3 kilos heavier than I kind of normally would have liked to have been racing. I was like the fittest I've ever been.
Yeah, wow.
And you're like, if I had have known that, I probably would have been starting to subconsciously, consciously restrict more in what I'm eating and being worried about that number. It's like, it's just a number.
Yeah.
And I just think that's, something that in sport kind of does my head in when people are like, oh, they look so fit. And I'm like, yeah, cool. What is that? Or like, you look like a triathlete, or like, yeah, you look ready. You're like, what does that mean?
Yeah.
Like, you've got no idea.
That's actually something that I was going to talk about as well, but I was like, I don't know how to squeeze it in, but I might. So this is not Olympic related, but bikini showing and bodybuilding. I don't understand why that sport, it's not a sport to me, is becoming more and more popular, because it's literally like the unhealthiest competition ever. You're just starving yourself until you are
stop drinking,
dehydrated, and then show your body. I don't even understand why that's a sport. I don't even know why I was even saying this, but
people
I was
get
just
like obsessed with it.
Obsessed.
And like, even that to me, like, I mean, it doesn't interest me whatsoever, but like their whole gym exercise routine is targeted to just like looking a certain way. And I'm like, you're not exercising to feel good. You're not exercising to move your body. You're like, whole life is tailored to this. Yeah.
And it's some people like starting their prep from 16 to 12 weeks out, and there's no balance. There's only, it's a tunnel vision, one way. I feel bad for saying this because they obviously are so dedicated and hardworking, but it's so unhealthy. Even for the men, it's so unhealthy for them.
It's not attractive either.
No, it's so not attractive.
No.
And the tan, like, I love me some good fake tan, but like, that's a bit much.
And the posing.
The posing.
Oh my God, I can't.
It's so
it's
interesting.
Not me.
So going back to now Olympics again, do you feel like now taking a step back and having some reflection, even with the decision to continue going on, do you feel like athletes should kind of not follow your footsteps, but be more of a voice and speak up and say, like, you know, my life doesn't particularly need to look a certain way, my body doesn't need to look a certain way, don't need to shut my mouth when I don't feel like something is not right? Or do you think that it'll never change because people need to, you know, kind of stay in their lane to be where they need to be, especially if you're in a sport that's by discretion?
Yeah, it's a hot topic, that's for sure. I feel like personally for me, I haven't always been like this way. I've definitely grown a hell of a lot since Tokyo to now. And I guess the confidence in my own thoughts and opinions has grown, where before, like, I'm naturally such a people pleaser.
Yeah.
I own that. So for me to kind of feel more comfortable these days to come and voice my opinion, stand up for what I believe in, or speak out when something doesn't sit right and things happen, it hasn't always been the case. So it's been something that's shifted within me, and I'm really proud of it. And I think the big learning piece I've seen is so much, like, the amount of feedback I've got back of people being like, thank you. And people being like, wow, like, I, you know, didn't know this side about you, or didn't see this side, but this is actually what I love most about you, is like that you're real and relatable and it's authentic. And I was like, wow, like, I think before I got so caught up in just like putting out this perfect picture,
and for the future rather than living in the present, and
trying to like portray like the dream life and everything's like perfect and happy and nothing's wrong, versus like, you can't relate to that, and people just watch that or look at that, and it makes them feel shit about themselves. Versus like being able to be like, yeah, I've had a really flat week. Yeah, I'm not confident about what I look like all the time. I struggle with body image, poor races, finances, whatever it might be. relationships. And people are like, oh, I can relate to that. Like, she's normal.
Yeah.
And I think being able to normalize just that, so that it's like athletes are real people, like you said before. We're really determined, a little bit crazy, but we are just real people, and we struggle with real issues that I think sometimes people don't realize. I remember having this conversation with my sister once, like classic little sister, loves to pick on me. And one day I just like completely lost it and just broke down. And I was like, I think you think I'm this really confident, untouchable person because maybe in your eyes I've done X, Y, and Z. Not the case. Like, I've still got so many insecurities and things that I'm working on. So it's like, I'm just like anyone else, that I still need people like to support me and be in my corner and like help boost me up a little bit, because athletes still have days where we don't feel our best, don't have the confidence that some people might think we always do have in ourselves. So yeah, I think that's something that just normalizing that conversation, and I guess allowing athletes to just be more open about the real issues that they face day to day is so helpful, because it just makes it less lonely.
Yeah, I love that. So what's life looked like since knowing that you weren't going to Paris this year? Because you were recently away.
Yeah, so I was in Europe racing. We found out when we were in Europe who was in the team. Found out I wasn't going, not in the team, and there's no triathlon racing other than the Olympics for like 6 to 8 weeks. Okay. Big gap. So I could either stay over in Europe and train, or I could come home. And for me, I'm such a homebody. I really love, as we've said, love the balance. So I was like, book me a ticket home. Yeah. Not cheap, but worth it. So I finished, like I did a block of racing in Europe.
Because you raced after the qualifiers came out.
Yeah. So we still have like a World Series we race on, and that doesn't stop. Even like if you're not going, you still race that. And
did you feel like you could even give 110% when you're in that kind of mindset?
Do you know what? Having not made the team, it almost takes the pressure off, where you're like, I have nothing to lose. Like literally nothing to lose. And, I'm in Europe, I'm in the Austrian Alps training, and I've got races coming up. I'm healthy, like sweet. Go out and have a few more beers than I maybe otherwise would have. And then I was like, nah, get me home, get me back to like family, friends, catching up with people. Like, I'm 29, turning 30, like heaps of people having 30th, just being able to like do normal stuff, even albeit winter. And then I go back to Europe and keep racing from the start of September. So I'll be back over there September, October, racing in Czech Republic, Spain, Italy, and Morocco.
Yeah, awesome. Yeah. So life continues on. It's 100%. Not really any different. You know what? It kind of, not saying that it's a huge blessing, but it's like that brown toast theory, right? And it's like, if you forget your keys, you run back inside, and then, you could have avoided being in a car accident that day. It's kind of like for you, because you mentioned last episode, like if you went to the Olympics and got injured, you could have been injured for a few months and not made money post Olympics, right? Yeah. So it's kind of like, show goes on, you're still going to be, bringing in the money. The only thing is you're just not going to be in Paris.
And that's it. Like, I do a lot of talking at schools and corporate stuff. So at the minute, everyone wants an Olympian to come in and chat. So it's like,
hot property dump.
Make lemonade.
Yeah, awesome. Love to hear it. Well, I don't know if you want to, because I didn't tell you to, but I was going to say we could talk more about some rogue moments that you have banked in your brain. One. Yep. Okay, perfect. Let's go.
So I went to dinner with the girls on Friday night. I was like, guys, I'm going back on a bit rogue. Help me with a rogue moment. Lucky, was feeling all right that day, because I absolutely got slammed. And they were like, oh, what about this? What about this? I was like, fuck. Anyway, so they reminded me of a good rogue moment. Not recent, but it's still good. So I was like, oh, yeah, I'll bring that to the table. So in triathlon, well, in sport, I guess in general, sometimes we can't, like altitude is a great element to try and boost fitness. Sometimes you can't always go up to altitude. So there's this thing called an altitude tent, which like stimulates being like at 3,000 meters up. So what it is
this kind of tent like you can put it inside, or you got to be outdoors?
No, so this is like a tent that you put over your bed. So within your bedroom, over the bed. So before Tokyo Games, I was spending like months in this altitude tent trying to get those gains. Now, funny thing is, if you're in an altitude tent, the amount of oxygen in that is a lot less. So if you were to put another person...
Shut the fuck up.
in the altitude tent and be doing physical activity, the amount of oxygen's completely reduced. Not advisable. So anyway, I forgot to get, the rundown from the staff before getting in there that FYI, if you're going to be sharing the altitude tent with someone, if you're going to be, doing some activity in there, you need to dial that shit down so that there's more oxygen available to the two of you. No, I didn't get that memo. So sharing an altitude tent with 2 people, wondering why we were completely breathless with a headache.
Wait, so is there 3 people in there? Or
2 people.
Yeah, okay. All right, keep going.
Wondering why we're completely breathless. And the whole thing's like filling up with condensation. And then I was like, I'm really short of breath. And I was like, holy shit. Like, 'cause obviously then like spent the night and I was like, I'm still short of breath. Anyway, and then it was like the running funny story of like, if there's 2 people in the tent, Emma, half the amount of altitude that you're at.
No, I need you to explain to me how you get a guy in a tent that's over your head. Like, what do you do?
Yeah, I guess that should have been part of the story too. FYI, I had to pre-warn, being like, so we're going to be in a tent. Do you know what? People fucking love it. They're like, what? You like tell it to them. They're like, I mean, it's like a one-off opportunity.
Oh my God.
What, to be in a tent or with an Olympian?
To be in an altitude tent.
So it's going to be me, you, in my room, in a tent, and you won't be able to breathe.
I'm going to have to send you a photo. It's that funny.
Oh my God, please send a photo so we can put it on the video.
I'll have to so that people get an idea of what I'm talking about.
I just thought you were going to say like they accidentally passed away or had a seizure from no oxygen. Like,
pretty short of breath. But that's like, apparently people have done that where it's like they go to sleep and then like their partner's like unconscious.
Shit.
Because there's just not enough oxygen.
Well, that's another meaning to a cradle snatcher because you're literally like popping them in there. Wow. That's
funny.
huge coming from you. I didn't expect that. That was a good one.
You're
I like
welcome.
that one.
I totally had forgotten about it. And then I was like, oh, that's right.
Who reminded you of that?
Carla.
I'm sure she did. I was like, in my head, I was like, surely Carla would remember that.
She doesn't let me live shit down.
My favourite bit, game time.
I got so stitched up last
Yeah,
time.
this isn't a prank this time.
Okay.
Because I was like, what's the point? She's going to know. So because, you've got the next, let's say 6 to 8 weeks.
Yeah.
Free, essentially, and you can potentially dabble in men again without the tent.
Yeah.
Or with the tent.
Or with the tent. But just a warning, like if you go back to if you go back to Emma's house, you might be short of breath. So I thought we'd play Romance with Emma.
Oh, okay.
Smash or pass.
Okay.
So the first one has also been an Olympian, but he's an influencer now.
Ooh. Smash.
Okay.
Start strong.
He has secure career, lives a healthy lifestyle, but he's at the beach club every weekend.
Oh, the beach club. That's all right. I'm going to actually change my previous answer and go pass and smash number 2.
Okay, perfect. This isn't personal. I just thought of it.
You can also smash multiple people. No judgment.
No judgment.
Now we know we can turn the dial down.
Well, Skye thought there was 3 people in the tent.
Well,
There's no judgment.
You said 2 other people, and I was like, all right, sis, pop off. I'm into whatever you're into.
Like she said before, they're athletes. They can handle it.
Yeah, don't yuck my yum.
Okay. He does swim club with you, and you have like mad intense sexual tension, but he's 23.
Oh. Age is just a number. Smash.
Actually, quick side note, someone that I saw, like you were doing swimming with or whatever, there was a bit of tension.
Oh.
I didn't really understand his age though. Understand as in like he looked like borderline, he's young but like not that bad. I think he was like 20.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Oh, no.
And I like went to hook up with him and I was like, wait, like I'm way too old for you. And then my ex told a mutual friend to tell him not to get with me. Anyway, so my dream of hooking up with a 20-year-old didn't happen. Anyway.
Goddamn.
Someone related to Carla Van Wieren, because she has a lot of relatives.
She's got a shitload.
Smash or pass?
Oh, God. I'm going to go pass.
It could be sisters-in-laws, cousins.
Yeah, nah. She's been my best friend for life. I'm not going there.
All right, fair. I was going to say scary smash, but it sounds like you are the scary smash yourself. But that was good.
Yeah, no, I enjoyed that.
Yeah.
I was like, is this real or is this fake?
Got any rogue moments from Athlete Village?
So this...
Olympic edition.
Have you ever smashed in the Olympic Village is what we're trying to ask.
I didn't in Tokyo. Just very disappointing.
Did you line it up and it just fell through?
I didn't even line this up, but it was like close to like a dream come true. Just didn't happen. But
Ooh, from Australia?
no, America.
Ooh.
LeBron James was like wandering around before he went to opening ceremony and obviously stood out. He's like how many heads taller than everyone else. So everyone was going and getting like a photo with him, asking for a photo. Anyway, so I got my photo with him and he was giving his number out to girls, but no, sorry, he was getting numbers off girls but not giving his number out. Anyway, I didn't get his number, but apparently he was giving his number out to, or whatever, asking for numbers of like 10 people. And I was like, damn,
That's
lucky bitches.
That's so standard though as an athlete.
But like imagine like literally everyone's like lining up to get a photo with this guy, get your photo, and then you're like, no, I didn't want to.
I've been given zero consent to share this, but my friend last week smashed an NBA player, and he was on his way to Paris, and he was like, "I'll come see you on the way back," and she was like, "Oh my god, slay!" But this is the situation. So they're doing it like at first, like they went to dinner like 5 nights in a row,
right?
Yeah, and then she ends up, they like doing the deed, and then he stops and goes, we should take things slow. And I said to her, I feel like, because he said it doesn't count if I don't finish, and I want to see you when I come back from Paris. And I said to her, I actually reckon he's got a girlfriend, and he's telling himself if he doesn't finish, it's not cheating.
It's not cheating.
So I Google. I can't really find anything online about him having a girlfriend. And then like it said, there was like one random celebrity blog post that said like he potentially had a pregnant partner or something in the beginning of the year, but nothing recent.
2 things. 1, selfish lover. 2, it's actually like a real common thing with guys that they like won't, how do you politely say it?
Finish.
Yeah.
Squirt one.
Won't finish or knock one off prior to like competing, racing for a while. So their like testosterone builds up.
Yeah.
And they like, won't do it. And then after racing, it's like, free game.
Yeah,
we got told to do that when we were rowing.
Yeah, apparently it's like a real thing.
Yeah. And
like that for the girls.
Like pretty much we actually then looked into it a bit more and
True, false?
were nothing conclusive, really.
How embarrassing though if you had all that built up semen in you and you just like saw a girl and you accidentally wet yourself.
After the game.
Cross the finish line and it's just like a...
What about like you're in the village and then you find a girl and you're like, last 5 seconds, sorry.
Well, going back to this
Then
NBA...
you got to go in the bloody altitude tent.
Hey,
Restrict it.
that's for performance gain.
But guys, going back to this NBA player, fucking, I didn't get to finish. I text this guy who owns a huge NBA like publication, and I'm like, hey, does such and such have a partner? And he was like, yes. So confirmed, he was not finishing because it's not cheating because he didn't finish. Even though they went to dinner 5 nights in a row and they were hooking up.
That's
and,
more
like,
intimate. That's where I get like baffled when people are like, oh, we didn't have sex, but we did everything else. I'm like, that stuff's more intimate than the sex.
Do you know what I learnt on Friday?
What?
Christian sex.
What is it?
It's
In
just
the butthole.
anal. I didn't know.
Jesus would be proud.
There's a whole
I'm
song
sorry,
for
actually,
it. There's a whole song. Hang on.
that is cooked because that's exactly what the fathers and priests have been doing for years to little boys.
So I was at the farmers markets and my friend goes, oh, I just ran into this guy. He's now married with 4 kids. He used to go to the same Christian school as me and he used to have Christian sex with all the girls. It's so surprising that he has 4 kids now. And I was like, what's Christian sex?
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
The things you learn.
Things you learn.
Father.
This is like boys' school, boarding school
Is there
jock.
anything you need to tell us? Are you okay?
All my life I've been good, do what my mom and dad and God say I should, giving me holes to choose from, and since I'm not a godless whore, they'll have to come in the back door. Therefore, fuck me in the ass, cause I love Jesus. The good Lord would want it that way. way. Give me
We
that
didn't sing
sweet
this in chapel.
sensation of a throbbing
Never.
rationalization. It's just between you and me. 'Cause everyone knows it's the sex that God can't see.
Oh,
God.
you're a freak. I know. You know why he's a freak? Because he loves it so much.
Yeah.
Oh, ease up.
I'm not going to, because I know he probably found that in like year 5 and he still is like frothing that he has that.
No, one of my clients showed it to me.
Recently?
Oh, like a year or so ago.
Oh, okay. Fair enough. Makes
Weird
sense.
meeting that one was.
Yeah.
You're Christian, Emma.
No. Good values, good values. Christ our light is the school motto.
Well, Emma, thanks for coming back into the studio. It was lots of fun having you here. I'm sorry that you aren't in Paris right now, but at the same time, I think it's a really good way to prolong your career and put some more fuel in the fire. And like I said, it's kind of like burnt toast theory. I feel like there's a lot of opportunities for you right now, like your public speaking and other appearances. So right now is bank time.
Filling up that cup at home.
Yes. But thank you for coming in.
Pleasure. Thanks for having me.
Thanks for listening to A Bit Rogue, where we uncover the stories of athletes, artists, and celebrities with their most rogue moments. Episodes dropping every Wednesday.